them up. Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, I'm Matt, he's Brett, and we are joined by our special guest, Cortland, tonight. Here to discuss some NFL free agency talk.
Right. So, I mean, since we got Corey here, we're gonna just jump right in, I guess. Let's go with the Colts. We'll start off with them. You're in Indy, Colts fan. Colts have made some moves, signing some, Miami dudes and Andre Johnson, Frank Gore. Released today, finally, for the love of God, Trent Richardson. What do you think on these moves so far?
So initially, I was, not in favor. These guys are older guys. Gore's 31. Entering his 11th season, I believe. Andre Johnson's about 33, 34 years old. So my feeling is we're still in rebuilding. We're going into year 4 of drafting Luck and losing Peyton and all that, and we've done great. Rebuilding years. We've had 3 straight 10-win seasons. We went to the AFC Championship this year. So to me, there was no reason to rush things. But, I feel like that, Jim Irsay wants a championship, especially without Peyton, and especially before Peyton gets one in Denver. And so I felt like him and the city kind of put the pressure on Grigson to say, hey, we need to do something now. We went to the AFC Championship, lost. We were almost there. So we just completely threw out our strategy of signing young guys, drafting talent, building up, and we're like, we need to win now. So with Gore, with Andre Johnson, with Trent Cole, it's championship or bust now. And so I don't know how I feel about him. I'm excited because now I think we do have a legit shot, but then I'm like, we kind of set ourselves up with these older guys. Now our younger guys may not get as much time, but I think we put a great deal of focus on the contracts. I think they're great contracts. Literally, when you look at pretty much all the contracts, they're basically 2-year deals. They signed 3-year deals, but the guaranteed money is guaranteed for the first 2 years. So we have outs after 2 years to kind of find some new guys if this doesn't work.
Go. Uh-oh.
Technical difficulties.
That's all right. We knew Cortland was having some trouble with his internet. He'll join us, I'm sure, again once he logs back off and comes back on again. What did you think about what he had to say, though?
I was gonna say, well, you look at what the Colts did. No more Reggie Wayne. You mentioned no more Trent. Or he said no more Trent Richardson as he's out. I think you upgraded at running back. I would rather have Frank Gore than Trent Richardson.
Right, even short-term, even if it is only
I think, yeah. I don't know. In my opinion, I think I'd rather have Andre Johnson than Reggie Wayne, especially with Andrew Luck throwing the ball to Andre Johnson. You got someone to go with T.Y. Hilton.
And Moncrief, the young guy, too.
Moncrief was coming on towards the end of last year and into the playoffs. So, the other thing, I think Frank Gore's going to be a really good locker room guy for them. Stuff like that's always important. And, he kind of said, they're in a win now mode. And regardless, it sounded like he was more of a fan to try and stay the course rather than jump the gun and try and win now. But I feel like the moves that they did, I think are significantly going to help at least the offense continue to grow. Just because I just felt like, no offense to, I don't know who the running back was last year. It wasn't. Who was the guy? Who?
Noah Herron?
No offense to him, but Frank Gore is going to be a better running back between the tackles, and if anything, these other offensive additions, they should just help Andrew Luck kind of progress. I feel like Luck's gotten better every season. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be considered one of the better teams in the AFC. The biggest issue I have with the Colts is they play in a pretty soft division. So every year I'm never really sure what to make of them because it's like, oh, well, they played against Jacksonville twice a year, and they played against Tennessee twice a year, and they played against Houston twice a year. So come playoff time, you don't know if they got in because they played an easy schedule, if they're really legit. Like this year, they proved, even though they beat up on those teams, I mean, they kicked the crap out of Denver and definitely proved they belong. I think. What are your thoughts though?
I think I agree with pretty much everything you said regarding like the guys that they got, particularly on offense. I mean, obviously Trent was just pathetic. I mean, not any good whatsoever. I think he averaged like 3 yards per carry for the 2 years that he was here. Perhaps one of the worst first round draft picks to have, and then again traded for another first. I mean,
That's two first round picks spent on one guy, right?
yeah, Cleveland clearly got the better of them on that one. Whether or not they did anything is kind of irrelevant. They still got the first round pick out of it that I don't think anybody else is probably willing to give up. So I mean that was obviously a bad acquisition for them. I know Corey was pretty excited for that at first when it happened. He thought it would be a nice upgrade because
I was too.
he's been pounding the table trying to get a running back here for probably the last 2-3 years. He wanted the guy that was Arian Foster's backup for a while that actually then signed in Cleveland.
Oh, Ben Tate.
Yeah, who also didn't do anything there. So where did he end up? Minnesota, right?
Yeah, Minnesota.
So I mean, I think it helps, and you're right on Andre Johnson. He's had terrible quarterbacks, and he's still always produced pretty decent numbers. I think he's a little younger than Reggie. I feel like he's younger than Reggie.
He just feels like he's a little younger. He's bigger, and like we don't know what he's got playing with a good quarterback. So
right, and so I mean they should be pretty good on offense. I think some help on the offensive line probably is really should go. I think they actually signed. Did they sign or get somebody along the offensive line recently? I feel like they did, but I can't remember if they did. And I think they lost at least one of their safeties, if not both. So.
Well, one was suspended, but I think he might have been released.
I'm pretty sure one of them signed. He might have gone to Jacksonville. Sergio Brown, maybe.
Okay.
But their corners are solid, so they'll definitely need some help still, right up the middle of the defense. I think at linebacker and then at safety spots are going to need some help too. But overall, I like the direction they're going. And I know he was saying too that, they're kind of in like win now mode and like they're in that window. But I mean, you got Andrew Luck. Really, I think you're going to have probably 3 or 4 separate windows with like 3 or 4, different group of players around him, and you're going to always have that chance as long as you got Luck at quarterback. And he's back.
He is back.
For how long this time?
Yeah, I don't even know what happened that time, but I'm back.
So what we said while you're gone, I was just finishing up saying that you said Irsay was kind of like in a win now mode.
Right.
I think as long as you have Luck, you could probably almost always be in a win now mode because he's going to be good enough that regardless of the cast you put around him, you're going to have some sort of window with that group of players to at least contend, as long as you can continue putting decent players around him because he's that good of a player as a quarterback.
Oh no, yeah, I totally agree. You've seen probably my tweets, and I think I already think he's elite at this level already. After year 3, he's shown me enough to do that. And I've kind of, like I said, I've circled the wagon. When I first saw these moves, I wasn't too happy about it. But the more I look at how Andre Johnson's been playing, how Gore's been playing, even in his 30s, these are short deals, minimum guaranteed money. It gives us immediate weapons on offense, and then we got Langford on the defensive line. We have Trent Cole on the defensive line. We'll probably continue to draft defensive players. So, I think it's great. Honestly, I think it definitely puts us in contending. New England has lost a couple of key players, which I've read reports we're still in the running for Wilford right now. I believe there's 4 AFC teams that offered him 2 years, $10 million. I'd like to think that we were one of them. So, no, I like the moves, man. I think it's going to be an exciting 2 years with these veterans to see what we can do.
And so who's going to be your safeties? I mean, one's well, he was a free agent, but he's suspended for 10 games. You probably want to re-sign him anyway, and Landry, garbage. Uh, and then I think you lost a guy, right? And was Sergio Brown one of your safeties?
So Sergio Brown was a free agent, and we lost him. We cut Landry even before he got suspended, thank God, because he can't cover a dining room table with a blanket, dude. He's awful in coverage. He's the worst that I've seen in years. So, but we did sign, I believe it's Brown. We signed Brown back, 2-year deal. It's literally like $2 million guarantee. We got him for real cheap. So, rolling into probably something we're going to talk about some point on air is the draft. I would really, really, really love Landon Collins from Alabama to fill in that strong safety role. But there's so many different areas of need.
If you guys are able to land him, you got to be ecstatic.
That would probably be quite a drop, considering where people thought he would be going, because he should have been, from the looks of it, seen a lot of drafts have him going around 14 to 18 kind of range, the middle part of that first round.
Right.
So I mean, if he was to fall to you guys, what do you got? 26?
29.
Oh yeah, you did make the championship. 29. Yeah. So I mean, that would be quite a fall, but I guess it wouldn't be sort of like Clinton Dix for us last year, where you just happened to kind of fall a little bit, and also be a really big need. So, kind of match those two up. It'd probably be really good for the Colts on that one.
Yeah, Clinton Dix, that's who I wanted last year, but I knew he wasn't going to drop. And once you guys snagged him, I was like, okay, I don't feel bad.
And then, I mean, so we got Colts talk. Obviously, Matt and I are Packers fans. We kind of just mentioned taking Clinton Dix last year, and then in typical Green Bay fashion this year, haven't made any sort of splashy move yet. I think we do that like once every 3 or 4 years, and last year we got Julius Pepper, so probably won't be doing that again until I got kids or something. But we were able. Matt and I talked last week. I thought at least that Cobb was going to be on his way out, especially after his reported increase of $12 million is what he wanted. We were able to keep him at 10. Which is still $1 million more than I thought we would. I know, we've discussed that on Twitter before, Corey, where we're like $9 million. That's about what he's going to get. We kept saying $9 million, and okay, I guess he had to go to 10, but at least it wasn't 12. If we would have paid him 12, I would have probably not been too happy with that. We also kept Bulaga, I think, at a pretty reasonable price. For a guy that, without him starting at our right tackle spot, our offensive line gets considerably weaker when we have to shift guys over and then bring in like a backup guard and some of that other stuff. What did you think of those 2 additions, Matt?
Well, I want to just say that I was one of the few people that I was getting a little nervous about Cobb leaving, but I was pretty confident that he was going to stay. I remember I actually said, I was like, I think he just wants to see what other teams are interested in him, and then he'll come back to Green Bay after it and be like, well, okay, like, you guys, pay me this money, and, then I'll stay in Green Bay. And, I mean, he's young enough where he's going to get another monster deal as long as he puts up good numbers. And if you go to, like, the Raiders or Jacksonville, like, you don't know you're going to get that come near the end of that contract. So, I mean, he still can cash in again. He obviously knows he's going to be playing with Aaron Rodgers. He knows opposite of him. He's going to have Jordy Nelson. And like Bulaga said after he signed, like, he knows just how close this team was to getting to a Super Bowl. Like, that's something that's important to him too. And so those 2 are really important to lock up. As far as guys that we lost, I know I was really hoping that we'd be able to keep Davon House the secret. That obviously didn't happen, and everyone realized, oh, he's like a 6'1" corner who, when he played, was actually pretty good. If anyone remembers watching on Monday night against Atlanta, Julio Jones was torching everyone until we decided finally to put House on him, and finally we had someone big enough to compete with him. And I mean, the guy's got a lot of potential. He just had always kind of been injured and was really young. And I mean, we were willing to offer him $4 million, but then I mean obviously Jacksonville, who by the way now with the new like CBA stuff, they have to spend money. There is like a minimum you have to spend. So like, the Packers are offering you 4, we'll offer you 6.5 because we have to. Who cares? And you know what? If you're gonna spend money like that, you might as well at least invest in someone young who has the potential to be really good instead of like old players. So, I mean, it makes sense for them. Tremont hasn't signed anywhere yet, so he's still open. I don't know though. I think someone might make a push for him. There was rumors that the Saints were going after him, but then they just signed Browner to a 3-year, $18 million deal or something like that. So we'll see. I mean, I would like to bring back Tremont on a cheaper deal, but I mean, there's obviously no guarantee of that. As far as our defensive tackle situation goes, both Guyon and Raji are still out there. I'm hoping that we can keep both of them so I don't have so many needs come draft day. But overall the Packers did what they did. We do our thing. We try to keep our own guys at a reasonable cost. And one thing I've always appreciated about Ted Thompson is it seems like we're never up against the cap wall like the Saints or other teams that are constantly like up against the wall every year. Like we always seem to be structured really well where we'll front load our deals like Aaron Rodgers' deal, and then we'll just work our way through it. And if you're not playing good enough, then obviously we'll let you go. But I just really like how the Packers always manage their cap. Some people really complain that we don't sign people, but I got no complaints for me.
Right, and that's probably like the only thing I think that you appreciate about Thompson, because I feel like the Steven Jackson thing, and occasionally like.
Okay, so I was wrong about one guy, all right?
I think everybody was wrong on Steven Jackson, though.
I have a question for you guys. So, because you guys are, a relatively conservative team with the cap, don't sign a lot of free agents, but you're right there. You're right there from a championship or from at least competing for one or getting to the game. Doesn't it unnerve you a little bit that they won't just do a little bit more? Maybe say like what the Colts did, and they took some chances with some older guys with some low money and to try to bring them in to win now. Don't you guys kind of want that at all? Or
I mean, we kind of did last year in bringing in Peppers. That's something for us that just doesn't usually happen. So I mean, we did it with Peppers. This was granted this was a while ago now, but when we brought in Charles Woodson, that was a really big deal for us to do something like that. Do I wish we would do it a little more? Yeah. But I just think we're not gonna. The Packers aren't gonna manage or risk the entire future to try and win a championship now. I feel like. I feel like both times we've done it with Woodson and Peppers, we knew ahead of time that we'd still have enough cap room down the road to be able to sign guys that we needed to on our own team. So I guess if that, and to be devil's advocate, look at what the Ravens are doing right now. Like, look at all the players that they've lost, and they just won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago because they had to give Flacco a monster deal, and they weren't able to structure it the way the Packers were Aaron Rodgers' contract.
Yeah.
So now all that back-end guaranteed money that they had to give, now they've had to cut tons of players and get rid of people.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. I mean, Haloti not taking the place of Sue. We'll get into that a little bit later. Obviously, it's going to be a pretty big loss, I think, for them. Though he did get suspended for a little bit, and I think they were okay when he was gone for a couple games. But as far as Packers free agency, you could say, yeah, I'd like to have them do it more. I don't know who, at least this year, if we're going to look at 1 year specifically, I would have really wanted, because I think obviously the biggest need, we got rid of A.J. Hawk and Brad Jones, both gone. One re-signed in Cincinnati is where Hawk went. I don't know where Brad Jones, but somebody paid that man money for some reason to come play for them. not worth the time or the money they're going to spend on him. But that's, I guess, up to them. Um, so it's like, okay, sure, let's go grab some inside linebackers. But then you look at the class, you're like, Brandon Spikes? I don't know. A guy runs like a 5-second 40. He's really only good against the run, which, I mean, I guess was a weakness, for us for most of the year. But there wasn't really like another guy, which is why when I thought Patrick Willis was going to get released, I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought before they said retired, I thought they were just going to release him for some reason. It's like, oh, shoot, like, hey, Green Bay, you want to go after this guy? But, then he retired, so we couldn't really do much there. Keep getting phone calls from like our undergrad trying to ask for money. That's some bullshit. But anyway, so I mean, this particular year, I don't know who I would have wanted. Maybe some guys up front, especially in the middle, since we do run a 3-4, would be nice. Like if Sue was out there, sorry, Nato's out there for like a 4th and a 5th round pick. Maybe that's a guy that obviously could really, really help.
I actually wanted us to. He got signed really fast, but I actually did kind of think that Darnell Dockett would have been a good fit in our defense. Just saying, but he got signed really fast, or came to terms with a deal really fast, I should say.
He did, but he hasn't had like a super productive year in probably the last 3 or 4. That's due to probably a little bit of age, a little bit of injury, kind of both.
Yeah.
So he would have been had he been able to stay healthy and kind of get closer to 2012 Dockett versus 2013, 2014 Dockett. Cortland's gone. Cortland's back. Yeah.
Not going anywhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know on who I would have wanted to go for this year outside of if Willis was gone. But historically, yeah, we don't. But I don't mind it. Because I think our method so far has seemed to work. I mean, don't miss a lot in the draft, or we trade back and just take a lot of picks. So the more players you get, obviously, the more likely you're going to get somebody that can produce for you. So I kind of like the way that we go about it, and we've never really been out of contention, which is solid enough for me. You'll get lucky once in a while. I mean, if one guy does his job, we're in the Super Bowl again this year on a fucking onside kick. So. I've got no complaints on the way we handle things.
You guys talked about Dockett. What do you guys think of Nick Fairley?
Oh, if you can get that guy to play consistently, he could end up being a big time addition to your team. Yeah. The problem is though, he's not a super high character guy. He had those same questions coming out of Auburn. Obviously, in Detroit, why wouldn't you want to play 100% when you're lined up with the rest of that defense? That front seven is just so good, and I don't know. I mean, I guess if his coaches just couldn't get the most out of him or what, I don't know. He's an interesting case because he does have so much potential. It's just a matter of finding the right guy or right coaching staff to get the most out of him, I guess.
You know what's going to get the most out of him? Give him a 1-year deal for like $1 million and say, you pay really well this year, we'll pay you a ton of money next year. Because for a lot of guys, you're not super motivated kind of dude in college, right? Once you start getting paid, I mean, what's to motivate you anymore, once you start getting checks rolling in?
Sure. I agree.
But alternatively to Green Bay style, we got the Philadelphia Eagles who have made this year a ton of moves.
Big headlines is Philly. Big headlines
all over. Don't know what they're doing. I have no idea what that team's going to look like. Hell, tomorrow is probably going to be a completely different roster. I have no idea. But what do you think about those moves so far? Either one of you, whoever wants to.
Cortland, you go ahead and you take the lead role on this, and then I'm going to share what I think.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm gonna let you know that I hate him. I hate the move.
Oh my God.
But here's what he's trying to do. Okay. Chip, is a confident guy. He believes in his system. He is thinking, okay, I need to build up this defense. I don't need all these stars on my offense. I'll trust in my system. I'll move these guys. We'll get better on defense. He's kind of doing the whole Seattle thing. We're going to run the ball. Just sign 2 running backs to Marco Murray. and Ryan Matthews. You still got Polk. You still got Sproles. So obviously they plan on running the football in 2015. He's going to run the football. He's got, D'Amico, I think, either restructured or something like that. He's going to stay. And then they got Kiko. So they're solid inside. They signed Walter Thurman on the outside. And I believe they got another corner there, which they do need corner help badly. So yeah, Byron Maxwell. So I get it. I get what he's trying to do, but at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that players make systems. Systems don't make players. They play, and they're the ones that make the plays at the end of the day. So I just don't see how you can trade Nick, Folk, who played great while healthy for you, was 14-4, I believe, as a starter. LaShawn McCoy, who 2 years ago was the rushing leader, 1,600 yards, already got rid of Deshaun Jackson, basically cut him, who was pretty much a Pro Bowl wide receiver, 1,000-yard season his first 4 years. And then you let Macklin walk. You let him walk. A year fresh from ACL, proved himself, played every game, and you let him walk. So I don't know. Like I said, I understand what he's trying to do. I just don't think it works. I looked at their schedule next year, and it's pretty light. They have the NFC South, and they have a nice little cakewalk. So I put them at about 7-9, and I'm really being nice with 7-9. But I put them about 7-9. I just don't like the moves. I'm not buying into the whole he's racist thing, but I do think he has a problem with, player personalities and, these guys had had success before he got there, and so Chip's kind of the my way or the highway type guy, and again, he's very confident in himself. So I just think he's trying to prove himself a little bit too much, and I think you've gotten guys like Sam Bradford, who I don't even know if he'll win the season. He tore his ACL. Kiko played one good rookie season, tore his ACL. So to me, he's still unproven. You got Ryan Matthews, who I'm surprised didn't break his collarbone when he signed the contract. That dude can never stay healthy. And then DeMarco Murray really just had his first full season behind, pretty much a top 5 NFL line. So, like I said, I agree. I see what he's trying to do. I don't agree with it. The guys that you got rid of are proven players. These guys that you're bringing in are not really proven players, and I think players make sense. So I'm not a big fan of it. I just don't like it. I don't like it. When I see Dallas winning that division again.
All right. So, I think either these moves are going to turn out to be great, and he's going to look like clearly it's either going to be great or it's going to be catastrophic because he got rid of a lot of talent that he inherited. I definitely think I agree with you in that I think if you don't fit with his personality or his philosophy, that he's going to show you the door. Doesn't matter how big of a star you are, no one's bigger than he is. So I agree with that. I think he believes he's that good. I disagree that. See, I think he really strongly believes that his system is good enough that I don't care what offensive personnel I have. I mean, they signed. If you think about it, you look at what McCoy got. He got like a $40 million deal with a bunch of guaranteed money. I didn't see the numbers on Murray's contract, but I can't imagine what Shady signed for. So you saved.
Take a
5-year
money there.
with 21 guaranteed.
Well, that's still quite a bit of money.
Very similar to LaShawn McCoy.
Actually, is. Yeah, a little more similar. Different people though, different running styles. I think I agree with the signings on defense. I mean, he clearly knows that offense is his specialty, and he's not so good on the defense. So that's where they spent their money is trying to upgrade the defense as well. I mean, they spent money on 2 corners. The thing about getting Alonzo is you mentioned he is coming off the ACL injury, but he had a stud rookie year. he's going to be on his rookie contract for the next 3 years still. So if he can get back to playing the way he was before, you pair him next to Kendricks, who also played good for them. I think the defense should be improved. And the thing people, I guess, are kind of forgetting is, yeah, he might be taking a chance on Bradford, but I mean, laugh at Mark Sanchez if you want, but that he was a big part of that Eagles offense, still ranking like third in the NFL, and that's what I mean. Where like he doesn't care like who he has running his system because they're gonna put up yards and they're gonna put up points. I mean, granted, yeah, that was Macklin had a good season. McCoy, I think he got frustrated with because McCoy half the time spent running backwards. And it almost felt like Sproles was the more productive back than McCoy was. So I think bringing in a guy like DeMarco Murray is going to help. Obviously Ryan Matthews. I don't know. I guess I was really high on Chip Kelly at Oregon. I've been really high on him in the NFL. He's had 2 10-6 seasons, both years. He's always, wanted to make things his way, leave his own impression. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, I feel like his way of doing things kind of reminds me a lot of how Bill Belichick does things. If you don't fit the system, they don't care. They ship you out. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be Randy Moss and catch a record number of touchdowns one season. The next season, you're acting like a jerk or you're not fitting. We'll get rid of you. Doesn't matter. So I guess I just feel like, granted, Belichick has a resume that's really good, and you can get away with doing stuff like that. And maybe Chip doesn't get, but I mean, we won't know unless until the season plays out. So I'm personally a fan of the moves. You're not, Brett. Where do you stand on this?
I think the most interesting moves are going to be the ones that they did make on defense. I mean, I know everyone wants to talk about the offensive stuff, but I think their offense will be fine as long as Bradford doesn't get hurt. Haha, he probably will. Not a big deal. Because they still have Sanchez, right?
Yep.
They signed him to another deal. But I do think when they signed their corners, right, they got, like you said, Thurman and Maxwell. I think those are going to be real interesting. Well, both those dudes were in Seattle, right?
They were.
As number twos and number threes, while they were there, because they had, Sherman and Browner, I think, for maybe one of those guys, and then obviously Maxwell was the number 2 this year. It's kind of like I wonder how they're going to do as lead guys, though. One of them's going to have to be the lead guy. They're not going to have the safeties that Seattle has, and they're not going to have Sherman on the other side. So it's definitely going to be a lot different. Even if they keep the scheme defensively, a cover 3 scheme, I mean, having to be that guy without that kind of help around you is still going to be, pretty interesting. And also, if those signings work out, obviously that's going to help out because that defense wasn't great. It really did have to rely on the offense. So those will be interesting. I still think they're going to be able to run the ball. I don't know who they're going to throw the ball to. Maybe they'll just line up Sproles in the slot and just have him kind of be like a DeAnthony Thomas kind of dude like he was in college, or like, I don't know, Michael James was, and just have him run a bunch of sweeps and a lot of short stuff and just kind of get the ball in his hands as like a receiver, because I don't think Riley Cooper is going to.
Jordan Matthews had moments last year, though.
Jordan Matthews had moments, if they're going to believe in that. I know they got, Josh Huff was a former Duck also with some good speed. Word on the street is that the Saints are kind of shopping Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills is a good player. I mean, if you could make us swing something for Kenny, I'd probably do that because I think he could be pretty dynamic player.
They have a couple of good tight ends too, don't they?
I don't even know.
Yeah, Zach Ertz and Brent Selleck.
Yeah, Selleck.
Yep. Yeah, and Zach
Ertz. Yep. So
remember what's the other guy? Let's see. You said it was Ertz and who?
Selleck.
A guy that Mike Vick never wanted to throw the ball to. His numbers dipped considerably when Vick was a starting quarterback. That's all I remember. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of moves. It's kind of fun to keep track of. Honestly, not sure it's going to make too much of a difference in the long run. I think they'll probably still be like an 8-9 win team. Especially since if they do have that easy of a schedule. If they got the NFC and the AFC South, I don't know if it was the AFC South or not, but My God, you couldn't ask for a more favorable schedule. Plus you still got Washington twice, which probably should be a win or two.
They have the NFC South and the AFC East. So they have Buffalo, which I can't wait for that. Miami, the Jets, Pats, and then they also have like the Giants, and then of course the whole AFC South. So yeah, they have a favorable schedule, but again, like I said, yeah, I don't. First of all, I don't believe in his system yet. I don't. I mean, he had studs. To me, he had studs on the offensive side, so I'm not a believer in it yet. But I understand he is because he ran it for years in college and was successful. I am not. I don't believe in the defensive moves really. Like I said, Kiko was a stud his rookie year. He had 1 year. That's still improving to me. And Byron Maxwell had like a -6 rating on PFF. He really wasn't good. He really on defense was the worst player on the field, to be honest. And then they gave him $60 million. So, I mean, the whole thing when they cut McCoy was about, oh, they're saving money. Okay, cool. But then you gave money. You gave pretty much the same contract to DeMarco. You gave Byron Maxwell all that money, and then Walt Thurman. He's a decent corner. He's a decent nickel corner, but like you said, Brett, these guys are going to prove themselves. They're going to guard the best guys on the field. If they don't have to play the Green Bay, but if the Eagles would have to play Green Bay, Thurman would have to guard Cobb. Maxwell would have to guard Jordy, and that would be laughable. I just don't believe in it yet, man. He's gonna have to show me. Like I said, I looked at his schedule. I'm maybe saying 7 wins. I'm being nice because they play. I'm assuming that they beat teams like Tampa Bay and New Orleans, which we don't know yet how they're gonna look because they've made some moves as well.
Hey, you shouldn't make fun of Maxwell that much. You know what? One of Aaron Rodgers' 6 picks he threw to that guy.
Well, that's a different system, though. So what happens is Earl Thomas and Cam, they literally cover those guys. They make those guys look a little bit better than they really are. I think Richard Sherman's phenomenal. I don't think he is as great as everyone thinks, but I do think he's a good player. But those safeties literally hold everything down. Those guys
probably do. Maxwell got the pick on a slant though. One against Jordy.
It was Jordy tipped it. Let's be honest.
Tipped it. Aaron Rodgers threw a terrible ball.
Jordy stopped running.
He was probably getting hit too while he was doing it. But
what did Rodgers throw all year pick wise? Was it 4 or 5 picks? I think 3.
I don't know how. Yeah, some ridiculous.
Focus had 3 to 5 on the receivers. Only 2 of them were Rodgers' fault. And that was not one of them, the one that he threw against Seattle.
So I think we both agree. I think we both agree. We understand his vision. We understand why he did it. It's just that I don't believe in his system yet.
Sure.
So
no, that makes sense.
You said you can't wait for Buffalo. What is it that you can't wait about Buffalo?
Because of the trade that they made, the media is going to hype it up as far as LaShawn McCoy returns to Philly or whatnot. But I just am interested to see, because they've made moves too. So I'm just interested to see how Philly is how competitive they're going to be. And like you said, I want to know who they're going to throw the ball to. Riley Cooper and Joe Matthews are their 1 and 2 receivers right now. So, and when I say that to people, they say, well, look at New England. They did this. Well,
they don't have a quarterback.
and they don't have arguably the greatest quarterback ever. So I'm gonna need to see who they throw it to. I mean, because
I guess my last question to counter that point is, can either of you guys name a stud Oregon Duck receiver? Because I sure can't.
A stud, someone who's been a stud in the NFL? No, I can't.
Who from the receiver and even the quarter? I mean, besides Mariota, there was
Dennis Dixon.
Oh, Dennis Dixon.
He's still in the NFL.
Who is he?
I can't really name any, standouts. Michael James is having a decent career in San Francisco if he's still there. But
Anthony Thomas.
Yeah, KC. But I can't name like a standout. I can't, like you said, to your point, I can't. But this isn't college.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, this is the NFL. I know.
Something
It's
I
gonna
think
be.
that's interesting that happened, by the way, this week is you're going to get off topic on the Philly thing, unless you guys have more to say on that. But I want to look at the Jets. This is almost like I think they're just flipping the bird right now over to Rex Ryan. And
They should have
they're like, oh,
just
what's
signed
that?
my
You wanted,
boy.
you wanted to
They should
pay
have signed Jim Leonard too, Brett.
Marty. Now we didn't. Your team sucked. We got you fired, and then you left. Look at that. We got Cromartie back. We got Reeves back. We got the band back together, except for the coach. We just let him basically. The only reason he made it is because I think he got to like 8-8 or something the year before, and the players really wanted him to stay. So then they just like sabotaged the dude, kept nobody, made him suck, and now they're bringing everybody back to be good again. It's a little weird, and he stayed in division too, so he's gonna get to play those guys twice a year now. He's got to be looking over there like, why couldn't you guys help me out like that?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, the Jets had a lot of money they had to spend. To be fair, yeah, I don't know though. I would think I'd rather. I don't know. That defense is gonna be in. I think the defense will actually be really good. I just don't know offensively how good they'll be.
I don't. Yeah, offensively,
I
did
don't
they
either.
did they pick up a running back yet?
They re-signed Bilal Paul, but that's it, pal.
They
They
got
re-signed
they got
Powell.
Ivory.
Yeah, and they still got Ivory. But I agree with Matt. I don't
Oh
see
wait,
them.
Brandon Marshall, right? They got Marshall at receiver now.
They do. I mean, now Eric Decker can be a number 2 instead of having to be a number 1 like he was last year. I just
Dude, if they got like legitimate quarterback play out of Gino or whomever, Mariota, if
Oh,
they
they got
draft him, if he's
Fitzpatrick, I think. Didn't they? Did they
oh
sign
my God,
Fitzpatrick? I think they
I
did.
think they did bring the beard. Yeah,
Um, it's not Gino's so weird. Like there are times where I'm like, oh, that guy, like he'll make a really good throw here and there. I'm like, wow, like that's a really good throw. Like he can play. And then there are times like, what the heck is this guy doing? I don't know. He's frustrating, man. Like sometimes he looks like he could be really good, and other. I think he's just a big tease. Yep.
right. Like a guy that you'll never like see him get to his full potential. He'll just always show those games. I think he did have a game or two this last year where he did look really good. Where he completed like 75% of his passes. Then he had those games where 4 of his
Four
first 6
turnovers.
passes are interceptions, and that's like historically bad. Like on occasion, like you can't obviously go 0 for 6 with 4 picks. I mean, once the other team's catching more passes than your receivers, you're not doing so hot.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna need to before I get excited about the Jets. I'm gonna really need to see Gino get some level of consistency, get better on third down, not turn over the ball. Really, you can have all the weapons you want, but he has to really lead that team. And if I see a little bit better play from him, I really can't put them even in the playoff conversation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's no way. I mean, it's funny because even with New England losing some pretty key defensive players, and speaking of systems, I mean, they're obviously a team who believes in their defensive philosophy. I mean, they lost Revis, they lost Browner. They don't seem to really care. That they did re-sign Butler. They kept their own safety. But I mean, the difference is, and this is the way it is with the NFL nowadays. If you don't have a difference maker at quarterback, you're not winning. It's as simple as that. And if you look at the other teams in the division, you have Tom Brady, who's head and shoulders the best in that division, and then everyone else, even Tannehill, has got a little question mark above their head if
Probably the
they're
second
really
best
that good.
Yeah, he is, and Tannehill's been getting better every year by a little bit. They knew he was going to be a project anyway because he only played 14 games as a quarterback in college, but he's gotten progressively better. I just saw right before we got on here that they signed Jordan Cameron. I think that's an awesome addition to their team. Another reliable target for Tannehill. Those younger guys tend to rely on those tight ends, and so him, and if they can keep Charles Clay, because I know the Bills are making a run for him, but I think Miami, honestly, has made the better improvements than anybody in that division. Obviously, Sue is a game changer, and if Deion Jordan can translate his freakishly athleticism, to actually playing football and having good technique off the edge. They have a great corner in Grimes. They have some problems, man. Cameron Wake. Yeah, I forgot all about him. Yeah, he's a stud, no doubt. So I think they've made some progress. I'm really a big Lamar Miller fan. I have a lot of guys that kind of take jabs at me for that, but honestly, man, I think Lamar Miller is on his way to a very, very good season. I'm talking 1,400 yards, 50 receptions. I think he's going to have a stud season. I like Miami, man. I really do. I like Miami's chances this year to kind of sneak into that wild card.
I guess my biggest thing about Miami, well, it's funny because you look at like the other three teams. The Jets improved on defense. I felt the Bills already had a really good defense. The Dolphins improved on defense. Like all these things are to try and stop the Patriots because if you can't match offensively what they do, you better hit the quarterback at least. I agree. Like Miami made some really good moves. I think. I think out of the division, I think they'll be the team that challenged the Patriots the most. I would love to say the Bills, but I just don't know if I have that much faith in either Matt Castle or
Manuel.
Or EJ Manuel, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
What do you think of Stu's contract, by the way? I mean, he got, like $5 million more guaranteed than Watt did and $14 million overall on the same length of it. I mean, 6 year, $114 million. Now, don't get me wrong. Stu is one of, if not the second or top two, defensive tackles in the game.
He's probably the biggest defensive lineman to hit the open market since a certain Green Bay Packer signed, Mr. Reggie White. No, in all seriousness, no. I can't name another defensive lineman who has the kind of impact. Like, obviously, Watt would have if he would have hit the free agent market, but he didn't. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of guaranteed money, too.
Right. And I think the biggest thing, too, is like you're going to look at that, you're going to say, hey, look, you can line up next to Cameron Wake, but Cameron Wake's already in his 30s. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to have Wake there for the entire 6 years of his deal.
No, probably not the entire 6 years.
Somebody, like you said, maybe Jordan can get his ass in gear and finally learn how to play football and keep some weight on or something. But, I mean, I think the last 3 years of that deal are going to be interesting because I don't know who they're going to have there. I mean, obviously no one really knows who they're going to have there, but there just doesn't seem to be like a plan unless they go out and draft some guys in the next year or two to kind of help him on that line. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I was looking at Pro Football Focus's like stats on that. The only time Sue is not great is when he's lined up as a zero. If you put him at a nose in the nose, that's the only time that he can get neutralized because then you can double team him on either side, depending on like run and pass type plays, with the center and a guard help. But as soon as you slide him over into like a 2 inside technique, all the way out to the 5, I mean his Pro Football Focus his pass rush grade was in the green for 5. I think it was 5 different spots they lined him up at. So
plus 27 was his rating, dude. Plus 27. I mean, I understand why Miami did it. It's a splash, and they needed to make one if they want to get better, man. It sucks. They gave up a lot of resources, but you gotta play. You gotta play if you wanna be with the big boys. So
I think it would be kind of cool since he was actually pretty good as like a 5. He's not just a 3, but he can be that 5 tech guy or wider if you want him to, because he is so athletic. Obviously, he's got that soccer background, which is well documented. I'd like to almost see him as like a 3-4 dude, like in Watt's situation, where they line him up all over and just kind of let him do free reign and just see what he would do. Because he's got the type of, I think, skill and athleticism where he could be super disruptive anywhere just like Watt is.
So, do you think Detroit just has better, or had, I should say, do you think Detroit just had better defensive players than the Texans did defensively?
Overall?
I don't know. Like, either Detroit's defense in general was just really good, or Sue's good enough that he makes everyone else that much better.
See, but Watt's that type of guy too. I mean, with that kind of numbers he had, I think he broke the record for Pro Football Focus grade. I mean, the guy was he broke his own record.
Defense didn't make that good.
Better and better every single. It's not even close. Like he's the best player in football for 3 years straight. Watt's been. At least according to Pro Football Focus grades, which, I mean, obviously you got to watch the games, kind of see what their strengths, weaknesses are, and how that all matches up. But when you're having the highest score, I mean, you have to be at least trying to help other dudes on the team out, right? You saw what Whitney Merciless finally kicked his ass in gear and had some good games for the Texans at outside linebacker. They still got Clowney, who, if he's not clowning around, will actually maybe be good.
They should have just drafted Khalil Mack is what they should have done.
Which I think we had in a mock draft at one point, but that's neither here nor there.
Can you imagine
anymore.
with J.J. Watt, a guy that actually dominated?
And Mack had a great season, too. He had a great season. Yeah.
If they would have had Teddy Bridgewater, if they just would have moved up one spot, said, yo, we'll trade you guys. Let us take that one spot from you at whoever had 32 last year, I forget, and then just we'll take Bridgewater instead of Tom Savage in the 5th round, which is just a wasted pick because that guy's garbage. So it would have been a playoff team, I'm pretty sure, with Teddy Bridgewater. And I know me and Cortland were on the same page last year as far as Teddy Bridgewater.
I've been pro Bridgewater, man, for a while now, and I have friends who love Manziel, and I said, man, Bridgewater, he's for real. Don't look at that. The combine, he had the glove, didn't have the glove.
Pro day. Yeah.
He can play, man, and he showed those last 6 games of the season, man. He played great, and they're at Minnesota. Depending on their situation, what they're going to do with Adrian Peterson, if they bring him back, they're gonna be a force, man. They'll probably be better than the Bears.
I saw a thing, right? Because Adrian Peterson wants to play in Dallas. What if they just said, you know what? Let's just go a straight up trade. Dez for AP. What do you do?
Well, first off,
you keep
yes, I tweeted that earlier today. That is a great move. It's a great idea. Dez for AP straight up. And then you can draft DGB in the 1st round, and then you have your replacement.
Oh, that's not terrible. Except I read that Adrian Peterson's value is like a 4th round pick.
All right, so you
give up Dez.
You trade Dez for AP and I don't know a second. Let's see what Minnesota's willing to give up for that. Probably not much. I think they really want to keep AP, but
it seems Dallas doesn't really want to keep Dez. Like they came out and said like they have reservations of paying him big money, and it was rumored that they were kind of spreading rumors about whatever was going on with him and his personal situation. So,
right.
and then they tagged him. So it seems to me that like they're very hesitant on locking this guy up long term. So why not get something?
It's a good point. I guess the biggest thing, personally, I think Adrian Peterson is going to have a stud year because he pretty much didn't play last year. But at the same time, boy, I tell you what, I don't know, man. There's only a couple receivers I would consider instead of that I'd rather have than Dez. I think I'd rather have Dez than Kelvin Johnson.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. How many running backs would you rather have over AP?
Right now, are we talking 1 year, or are we talking, say, for like next 3 or 4?
Right now, you have a team like Dallas who is already set up. You have a veteran quarterback. You have a great offensive line. Your defense is pretty good. You got Sean Lee coming back. You have a team that is ready.
Don't give me about Sean Lee. Someone's going to look at him wrong. He's going to get hurt again, so don't even count that.
You have a team. I know. I agree. I feel. I agree. Those injury guys.
He's hurt every year.
Every year.
You can't tell me they're really counting on him because Oh, what's that? You fell on your way to the film watching room while you're hurt? Oh boy.
So you're the general manager of the Cowboys. You lost your running back. You can have any running back you want to plug into your system next year and compete for championship. Who do you choose?
Tevin Coleman.
Oh my
That's, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, can I just draft Melvin Gordon and not have to worry about this?
That's an option, though. You know, it's an option.
If I were to take someone that's in the league right now, oh boy, it would sure be very easy to say Adrian Peterson. I gotta say, behind that offensive line,
How fun would it be?
Fun.
Would
Fun
it,
to watch.
would it be to have Jamal Charles behind that offensive line?
oh, I like
I'm
Jamal.
not saying he's the same type of back, obviously completely different styles, but if you're going to get an offensive line that's going to give you space to run, why not a shiftier, speedier guy?
I agree. But I think they should at least consider it. Just
Peterson's
consider
just a
Jerry,
special
if
player.
you're out here watching, if you're watching Jerry, consider Dez for AP.
Tweet at him. He probably reads tweets, right? He's better than Tom Crean at that. Tom Crean doesn't read his tweets, probably for the better.
So if you get rid of Dez, though, then you have Terrence Williams, you have
Toriel Green Beckham in the draft, as he said.
Yeah, you got to
If
get
you
the.
take-
you'd have to get some sort of receiver.
Yeah, you have to. You have to.
Oh, and you just signed Cole Beasley to a nice little deal. Oh, fantastic! You're set.
Wait,
He got
he got
paid.
Andre Hawkins money. Like, what?
kidding
All
me?
paid. Oh my God.
See, so they'll shell out that kind of money for Cole Beasley, but you won't pay Dez.
Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't get it. I don't get these DMs sometimes. I just don't understand.
Right? If only we could run these things as efficiently as we could do them on Madden, you know? But it's the other big stuff that happened. Obviously, it's like we said, a huge week. First 3 days, Jimmy Graham in the trade. We mentioned the Saints a couple times. Jimmy Graham going to the Seahawks for, a center, Max Unger, and I think it was a fourth round pick. No, it was a first.
Here's a first.
And the Seahawks got a fourth, I think, in return. What do you guys think of that? I mean, and the word is it wasn't Seattle reaching out to New Orleans for Jimmy Graham. It was actually the Saints reached out to them to try to get the center. So they're like, well, sure, if you really want our center that bad, you give us Jimmy Graham. What do you think of that?
Well, for the Seahawks, I want to say this is like the third year that they haven't had a first-round pick now. But they're not. I mean, obviously, it's worked out all right. Like they've still, just like they seem to be doing all right for not having those picks. They picked so late that the difference between a second-round guy and that guy they're getting late in the first round, there's not a huge difference between. So they get an elite tight end in Jimmy Graham. The ironic thing is, I remember watching the playoff game a couple of years back between the Saints and Seattle, and Jimmy Graham definitely isn't bringing any toughness to that team because I watched him just stop running his route when Cam Chancellor looked at him. So,
To be fair, I think we would all stop running our route if Cam Chancellor looked at us.
in all seriousness, though, they're getting an elite tight end, someone that Russell Wilson, can throw the ball up to. And to be honest, I mean, if you think about it, the way I assume they'll use Graham, because he's not a super good blocker. So I feel like they're gonna split him out at receiver a lot or in the slot, and honestly, he's the best receiver right now too. Sorry, Doug Baldwin, if I just made you angry by saying that.
Yeah,
So
don't
no,
make-
this move doesn't surprise me at all. I don't know if you guys remember, but right at the deadline, the Seahawks contacted Denver about Julius Thomas, and
Oh, that's right.
they were really interested in him. They were trying to get Denver to engage, and Denver, wouldn't budge because Denver's pretty much in the win mode now. So they weren't looking to do any type of deal. So, I mean, as surprising as this was, it wasn't super surprising to me. Again, we all know that they need to address, receiver slash tight end, and it's a great target for Russell Wilson. It helps because Russell can extend the play so much, and Jimmy Graham being so big and versatile on the outside, I think it's just going to be a huge upgrade for Seattle, and it's just going to be fun to watch because it's going to be Russ, Beast Mode, and Graham show pretty much every week.
Yeah, that should be good. And I totally forgot that they actually reached out for Julius, in the middle of the year last year. I think they got the better end of that deal, though. I'd much rather have Jimmy Graham than Julius Thomas. And I think Jacksonville, I think Thomas will probably like a big part of like the Peyton Manning thing. I don't know how he's going to do in Jacksonville. That's going to be interesting for Thomas going from playing with Peyton Manning, a guy that at the line, and he's going to read defenses and make sure you're going to be successful, get the ball to you, to a Blake Bortles kind of guy who looked all right early, but then it was just like, I don't really know what this kid's doing anymore. Maybe he probably just wasn't quite ready yet to be in that situation, but that's going to be a wake-up call, I think, for Julius Thomas after getting his first year or two of actual productivity and then having to go play in Jacksonville.
That's true. I mean, I definitely agree with that. It's also probably going to be a wake-up call when the ball comes zinging into you instead of just being floated to you.
Yeah.
Just saying, anyone that watched Peyton Manning at the end of last year, guy was throwing more ducks than ever. And
he was never like a laser kind of guy anyway. Like you and I always used to talk about how occasionally he'd have those, they'd be where they needed to be, but goddamn, they looked ugly.
Ugly and just not a lot of zip on the ball.
Yeah.
And Cortland mentioned, Russell Wilson being able to scramble around. Well, now he better be able to scramble around a little more because they just gave up that center who was pretty good. But I mean, I guess if you're gonna do that, Russell Wilson is mobile enough to be able to make it happen. So, I guess that's something. And I think their center, I think that guy they gave up was hurt this year too for a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
he was hurt for a lot of the years.
There was someone that wasn't front playing some. So.
Yeah. New Orleans, this was money motivated for the most part. At 4:00, if they would have kept Jimmy, they owed him, I believe, a $5 million roster bonus. So this was money motivated. And what was funny about it was they traded him and they added $2.5 million to their cap because they had a $9 million hit. Plus they had Unger's $4.5 million base salary. So I'm like, you're money motivated, but you just added $2.5 million to the cap. I don't understand who does their cap.
I wondered that too, because they're awful. I know every single year they're like, hey guys, can you restructure please?
Yeah.
Or hey, we need like 10 of you to leave now so you guys can get out of the building right now because we don't have room. Every year. But then they go out and then they like this year, like last year they went out and they got Jerry's Bird.
Yeah.
They signed him to a big deal. Then this year they go, they do their thing. Oh, Browner, well, come on over. Have you guys learned your lesson?
3 years, $15 million. They gave $10 million guaranteed. I'm just like, do you guys look at the checkbook ever at all? Like they just throw out money. So they're gonna have these problems every single year if they don't get better with the cap.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers are the same way, and I think they would just really want Troy Polamalu to retire just so they can stop paying the dude, but they're not gonna ever cut him. So he's like a legend. Like you can't just cut that dude.
Right.
Well, you can. I mean, Green Bay was just said you to Brett Favre once, so I mean, I guess you could do the same with Troy Polamalu.
They cut the beard, man. Kiesel.
They did, yeah. They cut Kiesel. He's right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Troy's on a different level as far as like legend status outside of him not having a beard, but he's had hair commercials, so I mean, I guess he's got something going for hair on his head also. I mean, there's a little similarity there.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, so I think we covered a lot of the big stuff. I mean, Patrick Willis looks like San Francisco is probably going to be struggling between everybody retiring or signing elsewhere. I think it'll be fun though to see the running back kind of Carlos Hyde step in and try to be the guy now. I think he's actually going to be well suited for that role.
He's on my fantasy radar.
Well, don't be in our league, dude. You just gave away a secret.
Oh man.
But yeah, was there? I mean, we've been on now for a little bit, over an hour, I think. Was there anything that we missed, or that you guys kind of want to talk about that may have popped into your head while we were discussing some other stuff?
What's Green Bay gonna do in the draft?
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to do a draft podcast, but I guess a little quick insight of what I think. I think I think for the first time in a couple of years, I think we're literally going to draft the best player on the board. And I know that's supposed to always be our philosophy, and maybe it worked out last year that Dix was the best player, and he happened to fill our biggest need, but I could see us drafting a defensive tackle, an inside linebacker, or even a tight end, or maybe just a surprise pick.
I think it'd be nice, personally, if there happened to be a corner that we liked that fell.
Corner,
I wouldn't mind taking a corner right now. Because like I said at lunch today, I mean, we got Sammy Shields, Casey Hayward's there. We lost House. Who knows what's happening with Williams? So I mean, we're gonna need a third kind of guaranteed guy. I mean, I know we got Micah Hyde too.
Hyde.
Micah Hyde can play down in the nickel, and I don't mind him, but I don't know. I would still like one teams do like to spread us out, and a younger dude too. So I don't know how Sammy Shields' contract is structured, but if he has like another average year, I'd just say goodbye to you, and it's what we drafted this young kid for. So I don't know. It's gonna probably be defense, unless there's just like a game-changing kind of guy that somehow fell to us, for offense. I gotta say we're gonna go defense.
Hey, Ted Thompson was at the Wisconsin Pro Day. I just want to point that out.
He's always at Wisconsin's Pro Day. If anything, if there's one guy that Ted Thompson would draft that was at that Pro Day, it would probably be the defensive lineman, Warren. But it won't be in the first. That probably won't be till like the 6th or 7th round. That's where he's probably going to get drafted at if he's drafted at all. Other guy that would be draftable from Wisconsin's Pro Day would be obviously Gordon. I don't think we're going to take Gordon to match up with Eddie Lacy. I mean, why not? I guess occasionally that'd be kind of fun, but I like Starks, so no need for that.
Dwan Harris the door, Brett.
And then there's Havenstein, but since we just signed, Bulaga right tackle for a couple-year deal, so there's no point in drafting a right tackle unless you want to move a 6'8" dude into guard, which is what I've seen projected the Colts would do in one mock draft. They'd draft him in like the 3rd round and just slide him into guard. I'm like, I don't know, dude. He's 6'8". That's a really tall guard.
That's not gonna work.
That's not gonna work.
So yeah, what do you want them to do? The Colts to do?
Like I said earlier, I really would love Landon Collins to fall to us. If he doesn't, we're probably just going to go conservative with the guy Stanford, Andrus Piat or something like that. He's a big tackle, big guy.
Oh, the tackle.
Yeah, I mean that's probably what we're going to do, and I understand it because we need a right tackle on the other side of Costanzo. So, I would the fan in me wants a sexy pick,
I know exactly how you feel.
like a Melvin Gordon or a DGB or something crazy like that. But I think the right way to go, if Landon doesn't fall to us, I think the right way to go is tackle, so we can protect our franchise guy, who we're probably going to give upwards of $100 million to pretty soon here. So that's probably the smart way to do it. And then obviously I'm definitely want to back at some point. I told Brett already. I'm a big Duke Johnson fan. I like Langford late, 4th round. I think he'll fall there. So I don't want us to go crazy and try to get Gurley or someone too early. But the fan in me loves those sexy picks.
Oh yeah.
Right. I think it's nice that you recognize the smart way to go would be offensive line, which is finally what Dallas did. Instead of going with sexy picks in the 1st round, they invested 4 first-rounders in that line, and now they got maybe one of the best offensive lines in football. So they're not always sexy, but if you can build that up, dude, you're going to be a pretty good team because everyone always says it every year, but nobody seems to grasp it every time the draft rolls around that you build from the inside out, I think, on your team and a quarterback.
Starts at the trenches.
Yep, sure does.
So,
On both sides. Yep.
We'll probably definitely have, before the draft gets here, another podcast specifically dedicated towards the draft. Maybe we'll all do a mock. Courtland, you ever do a mock?
I'll do mocks.
I'll do a mock. I'm in there.
You're in that? All right, cool. We'll get a mock. It's up in Chicago this year. I don't know. Matt and I were thinking about driving down or up, depending on where you're living, to Chicago for at least a day or two of that. But who knows? I haven't seen any information released yet on how to attend. Though they are gonna have a outdoor facility area for like specific teams, like fans of teams. So like you guys can just hang out like in like a fan area with like giant TVs everywhere and like watch what's going on inside, so you can still hear the picks and all that other good stuff too. So looks like it should be like a nice fan destination if anyone's up for that. We'll see when we get there, because it is the week after Matt's bachelor party. So who knows? Maybe we don't want to drive anymore.
Making that jump, buddy.
So with that, Cortland, thanks for coming on, man. As always, we'll have you back on probably, like I said, in about a month or so. And I think that's all we got for you guys. So we'll see you next time.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Go Colts.